We've come a long way in the past 2 years. Grassroots climate emergency movements have suddenly taken hold around the world. Extinction Rebellion events are happening on a daily basis in many countries. And this month, we passed a climate emergency milestone. Over 1,000 councils across 19 countries have passed motions recognising we're in a climate emergency. The council campaign has also started reaching up into central governments. And yesterday, on the 20th of September 2019, we saw by far the largest ever international movement, the Youth Climate Strikes, in action. But where do we need to get to from here? Recognising the climate emergency is a step to restoring a safe climate, but now we need action. We seem to have the public will. We have most of the solutions, but we don't have the political will to get it done. To examine where to from here, people working for a climate emergency response need to have a shared understanding on what is required to restore a safe climate, how fast we need to do it, and what it would take. So how bad is it? The destruction we're seeing now is unacceptable, and so current warming is unacceptable. That is a given. But compounding this is the fact that we've already set off multiple positive feedback loops that speed up warming. These feedback loops include release of methane from warming Arctic tundra and the ocean floor, release of CO2 from dying and burning forests and peat bogs, reduced ice cover, meaning that more heat is captured, speeding up the ice melt. The models used by the IPCC don't take most of the feedback loops into account, so they just leave them out. This is a key reason why the IPCC report, as dire as it is overly optimistic. Because of these feedback loops, we are in a race against time. So if we're too hot now, should we consider that going to zero emissions is enough? If we could freeze all greenhouse gases at current carbon dioxide equivalents, which are well over 450 parts per million, would that be enough? Or would we just keep warming? We'd probably just keep warming. We need to stop talking about zero by 2050 because although it might be politically easy to do so, it's clearly not ambitious enough and is nothing short of suicidal. Seeing the regular occurrence of climate-related catastrophes occurring today, can we really pretend we have 30 more years to slow down our emissions to a standstill? Because we're too hot now, instead of zero by 2050, we need to be demanding zero emissions at emergency speed, which looks like a decade, drawing down excess greenhouse gas emissions, so zero plus drawdown equals negative emissions, as well as getting back to pre-industrial parts per million, which is under 300. This is what is required to restore a safe climate. Safe climate restoration involves every sector: land use, agriculture and what we eat, transport, energy production and efficiency, waste or reduction of, and we need massive industrial scale drawdown. Fortunately, groups like Beyond Zero Emissions, Zero Carbon Britain, Project Drawdown and others have been working on the plans needed for over a decade. We just need to implement the plans at emergency speed and do a bit more research and development to prevent runaway climate change into hot-house Earth. To get this done at emergency speed, we need to mobilise. Mobilisation is a concept from war times. It means throwing the nation's energy and resources at a problem to overcome it, to achieve something that would otherwise be impossible. Think of the UK and WW2. They cut rail postings and melted them for planes. There was mass migration around the country, and the country was on rations until almost 1960. But they also suffered huge losses in terms of human life, and that's something we're trying to avoid. And on the plus side, everyone had a job. How fast do we need to do it? As fast as it's humanly possible. We should have finished the job 10 years ago. Targets drive research and development and innovation. We don't set safe climate targets on what we think we can achieve, on what's comfortable, but on what needs to be achieved. We need to be thinking in terms of a decade for safe levels of greenhouse gas concentration. If we do not set targets that can achieve a safe climate, we will not achieve a safe climate. There is no compromise on restoring a safe climate. We cannot make choices that are politically expedient over choices that are necessary. So what can you do? You probably realise by now that nobody is coming to save us and we can't rely on central governments to lead, no matter what the public sentiment is. These are 3 things that can help get us to the next level, help get us to mobilisation. Number 1, a council that has declared a climate emergency can now mobilise. If your own council has declared, start with them and surrounding councils. This will show other councils it's safe to do so. Number 2, get people committed to mobilisation elected. Can you run as a climate emergency candidate? If you can't run, find someone who will and build a campaign around them. Start now, and if there's no climate emergency party to run under, then start one. And thirdly, help a sitting MP or representative to understand mobilisation. Ask them to stake their career on it, even if it means going to the crossbench. Yes, it's a huge task ahead, so we need to get started. If it all sounds too hard, ask yourself, how else do you see the planet being saved?